I should have known something was off when Ashley asked me to dinner. Not the usual, let's grab a bite kind of dinner. No, this was a capital D dinner. The kind with candles and wine. The kind you wear real pants to. It's important, she'd said, and I, ever the optimist or the fool, depending on how you look at it, thought maybe she wanted to talk. Maybe, after months of cold silences and two bright smiles, we were finally going to work on our marriage. I was wrong. When I got to the restaurant, Ashley was already seated, smiling, laughing. Not at me, of course, at the guy sitting next to her. Tight black shirt, smug smirk, and the kind of haircut that says, I peaked in college. His name was Chase. Her colleague. I sat down across from them. Ashley gestured, all sugar and sparkle. Logan, this is Chase. From work. You've heard me talk about him. Oh, I'd heard. Too often. The mentor, the inspiration, the guy who just gets me. And now, apparently, the guy who gets to sit next to my wife like he owns the deed to her laugh. I clenched my fists under the table. Then he leaned in, all faux friendly. Logan, buddy, I'll make this simple. You've got two options. Leave quietly, or face me like a man. Ashley smiled. She actually smiled. And just like that, the mask slipped. This wasn't a talk. This was a curtain call. I was the final act in their little soap opera. A live audience to my own humiliation. But I didn't flinch. I looked Chase dead in the eyes, leaned in, and said, You want your teeth whole or in pieces? That was the last polite sentence of the evening. Plates shattered. Wine flew like it had somewhere better to be, splashed across Ashley's white blouse in a scene that could have won awards if Betrayal had a film festival. Chase stood, or tried to. My fist had other ideas. He slumped back into his seat, no longer smirking. His protein-packed frame suddenly looked very breakable. Ashley screamed. Not in fear, oh no. In embarrassment. Logan, stop. You're embarrassing me. Right. Because nothing says class like inviting your husband to dinner so your new boyfriend can challenge him to a duel over creme brulee. I was escorted out, naturally. Security doesn't really care who's right when you're holding what used to be the centerpiece in your hand like a medieval flail. Outside, the night was cold. The kind of cold that cuts through your shirt and straight into your bones. I didn't feel it. Just stood there, staring at the restaurant door like it owed me something. Like maybe if I looked hard enough, it would open and none of this would have happened. But it didn't. Back home, the silence was thicker than the lies that had led me there. I walked into our bedroom, no, her bedroom now. The bed was made. Ashley never made the bed. Tight corners, crisp sheets. Hotel style. She was preparing for someone else, long before Chase showed up with his smug jawline and ready-made charm. And that's when I found it, the second scent. Not hers. Not ours. Something musky, arrogant. The cologne of a man who doesn't need to sneak around because he's already been welcomed in. I sat down, pulled out her tablet, unlocked, as always. Because I was the trusting type. That trust dissolved with the first swipe. There she was. Ashley. Mirror selfie. Hotel room I didn't recognize. Timestamped from last weekend, when she was supposedly at Lacey's baby shower. And in the background? Chase. Shirtless. Brushing his teeth. Like he lived there. I didn't cry. I didn't shout. I didn't break anything this time. I just smiled. Because now I had what I needed. There's a certain peace that comes with clarity. Not the fuzzy, hopeful kind where you tell yourself things might work out if you just try harder. No. I'm talking about that cold, surgical clarity, like a scalpel separating fact from fiction. That's what I felt the next morning. I woke up early. Earlier than I needed to. Sat at the kitchen table with a black coffee and a legal pad. No music. No distractions. Just silence and a man making a list. Photos? Check. Screenshots of messages? Got him. She actually called him my little secret in one. Gag-worthy. Really. Hotel receipts, timestamps, GPS data from her phone syncing with our family cloud account. All of it. She used to joke that I was the boring husband who triple-checks the finances. Guess what? That boring habit of mine meant I noticed a $413 charge on the Hilton's in-room dining, billed during a weekend she was supposedly snuggling baby gifts in Sacramento. And I didn't just gather the evidence. I organized it. Tabbed it. Chronologically. By the time Ashley rolled out of bed, I had a manila folder that would make a divorce attorney weep with gratitude. She walked into the kitchen, acting like we were in a sitcom. Wearing one of my shirts, one I hadn't seen in weeks, probably wore it to his place. Hey, she said, yawning. About last night. I slid the folder across the table without a word. She looked down, smirk vanished. What is this? Proof, I said. Of everything. She flipped through a few pages. Selfies. Texts. Receipts. You really dug deep, huh? She said, trying to sound amused. I'm a boring husband, I said. We notice things. She laughed, nervously now. So what? You going to send this to HR? Post it online? What's your plan, Logan? Humiliate me? No, I said, rising from my chair. You've already done that. She stared at me, I searching for some hint of forgiveness. I gave her nothing. But don't worry, I added, grabbing my coat. You'll find out my plan soon enough. Because this wasn't just about pain anymore. It was about precision. Ashley always underestimated me. That's the part that makes me laugh when I think about it now, not the cheating, not the smugness, not even the gall of bringing Chase into my life like she was introducing a new scented candle. No, what gets me is the sheer audacity of believing I'd just lie down and take it. That I'd shuffle off quietly while she played house with some Abercrombie afterthought. She thought because I didn't yell, because I didn't cry, that I was weak. She forgot that quiet doesn't mean passive. And restraint? That's just planning with patience. The folder I handed her? That wasn't a threat. That was a timestamp. A declaration that the clock had started ticking, and every second from that moment forward was borrowed. And I wasn't going to waste a single one. Monday morning hit like a gavel. I showed up at work right on time, suit pressed, tie sharp, calm as a librarian on Ambien. If anyone noticed the bags under my eyes, they didn't say a word. I made small talk. I asked Karen about her kid's soccer game. I even chuckled when Dale retold the same story about his fishing trip for the third time in a week. Meanwhile, I was moving pieces behind the scenes. First call was to a locksmith. New locks on the house. Ashley hadn't lived there for weeks anyway. Her things were still there, mostly for show, but after what happened at that restaurant, I knew she wouldn't be staying another night. Second call, my lawyer, Martin. Divorce attorney. Ex-Marine. He had the disposition of a man who ironed his coffee. You finally ready? He asked, no hello necessary. Past ready, I said. Good. We'll move fast. Third move, I pulled the pin on the accounts. Not in a petty way, mind you. Legally. Carefully. Our joint savings was split down the middle, just like our prenup said. But the discretionary cards, the ones she used to fund her new wardrobe, her hair appointments, her boutique gym where she probably flirted with the yoga instructor, those were canceled. Cut, shredded, and deleted. The next day, Chase tried to call me. Big mistake. I didn't answer, but I listened to the voicemail. Twice. Logan, listen, man, we didn't mean for it to happen this way. Ashley, she's been really confused. Look, I know you're hurt, and I'm sorry, truly, but maybe we can meet up, talk it out. Like men. Like men. That's the thing about guys like Chase. They use phrases like that because they think manhood is measured in who speaks last, who lifts more, who gets the girl. But real men? We measure differently. So I did what real men do. I blocked his number. Then I forwarded the voicemail to my lawyer. Let him talk it out with Martin. Ashley texted me the next evening. Just 4 words. We need to talk. I stared at it for a minute. Then I replied. Meet me tomorrow. Noon. Cafe Mason. Neutral ground. Public. Cameras. Witnesses. And more importantly, the last place she'd expect me to stay completely composed. She showed up late, naturally. Her hair was perfect. Her makeup subtle but sharp. The kind of look that said, I'm grieving the man I wronged, but screamed, I still think I'm the protagonist. She sat down across from me without a word, like we were meeting to catch up after years apart. Logan, she started, voice soft. I don't even know where to begin. Try the part where you invited me to a dinner ambush. Her smile twitched. That was a mistake. Which part? The betrayal or the performance? She sighed, us darting to the people around us. I didn't come here to fight. Good. Neither did I. She blinked. That threw her. Then why? Because I want you to hear something, I said, sliding a small envelope across the table. This is your official notice. Martin will be serving the papers tomorrow. Insider copies, in case you want to read them first. Her hands hovered over the envelope like it was radioactive. You're really doing this? She asked. No, Ashley. You did this. I'm just signing the receipts. A flicker of guilt, maybe real, maybe reflex, crossed her face. I never meant to hurt you, she said. I laughed once. A dry, bitter sound that startled the couple at the next table. You didn't just hurt me, I said. You insulted me. You turned me into a side character in my own life. And the worst part? You thought I wouldn't notice. Logan, it wasn't like that. Save it. I've heard enough. You had your fun, your freedom, your fantasy. But now you're going to have to live with reality. And that reality doesn't include my money, my home, or my silence. I stood. She didn't. I left her there, sitting in that cafe with a coffee going cold and an envelope full of consequences. Outside, I took a breath. The sky was gray, the wind sharp. But for the first time in weeks, I felt warm. Because storms may be messy, but they're also how you clear the air. The weirdest thing about reclaiming your life is realizing how many pieces of it were never really yours to begin with. The bed you both slept in? Hers. Picked it. Dressed it. Positioned it so sunlight hit just the right angle on her inspiration wall every morning. The living room furniture? Also hers. I hated that couch. Always felt like sitting on a stack of yoga mats. But I smiled when she brought it home because smiling meant peace. Smiling meant love. Now, everything in that house was starting to look like a museum of bad decisions and overpriced taste. So I made a list. Not a metaphorical one. A real, pen-on-paper list. Title: What stays with me? Not who. Not what I was owed. Just the pieces of my own life I was going to stitch back together. That list was how I spent the night after the cafe meeting. No whiskey. No loud music. Just me, a Sharpie, and a decision to stop reacting and start rebuilding. The next day, Martin called. And let me tell you, he sounded delighted. She didn't even lawyer up yet, he said, practically giddy. That means we're moving faster than she is. We can file with the court by Friday. I'll drop the final draft for your signature. I signed it at my desk during lunch, between emails and one very confused in turn asking why I looked like I just won a war. You okay, Mr. Banks? He asked. I looked up from the papers. Yeah, Jackson. Better than okay. I expected the fallout to hit by the weekend. I was wrong. It came that same night. The doorbell rang at 7:43 p.m. I opened it to find Ashley standing there, coat open, eyes wild, hair undone. Not the polished version from the cafe. No, this was real Ashley. The one I hadn't seen since before things fell apart. The Ashley who didn't care about appearances. You changed the locks, she said. Correct, I replied. You can't do that. I held up a copy of the prenup. Actually, I can. And did. She pushed past me before I could stop her, walking straight into what used to be her castle. She scanned the room like it had betrayed her, then spun around. Logan, I get it. You're angry. I said, calmly shutting the door. Now I'm focused. She dropped her bag on the floor. Do you think this is easy for me? I think you chose what was easy for you at the time. And now you're facing the cost. Her shoulders tensed. We were broken before Chase. I raised an eyebrow. Then why didn't you leave me first? That stopped her. She didn't answer, just stared at the floor like it had something to confess. Because, I continued, stepping closer, you didn't want a clean break. You wanted options. You wanted a safety net. You wanted me to be the bad guy. But I didn't take the bait. She looked up then. Eyes glossy, jaw tight. You think I'm the villain? No, I said. Villains own their actions. You're just a coward in a love story you wrote without me. That one hit. She flinched, just slightly, and I could see the wheels turning. The tears were loading behind her eyes, the performance starting to queue up. But I wasn't giving her the stage. I boxed up your things, I said. They're in the garage. You can take them now, or I'll have them delivered to your new address. Whichever's easier. She blinked. You're seriously kicking me out? I'm enforcing boundaries. Welcome to the new me. She left 10 minutes later, boxes in hand, dignity trailing behind her like tissue stuck to a heel. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. But she didn't say thank you either. Which was fine. I wasn't looking for gratitude. I was looking for closure. But that night, I got something else. A message. From a blocked number. One of those anonymous email-to-text services people use when they're too afraid to speak with their own voice. You think this is over? You humiliated her. You're gonna pay. No name. No sender ID. Just a threat delivered with all the subtlety of a late-night TV villain. I didn't reply. I just saved the message and forwarded it to Martin. Let's add this to the file, I wrote. Looks like things are heating up. Funny thing about fire, it doesn't just destroy. It reveals. Strip away the smoke and you start to see what's been hiding underneath. Weak spots. Secrets. And sometimes, bones. I had a feeling I was about to find all three. Most people think threats come with thunder. Raised voices, broken glass, some hot-blooded fool shouting in a parking lot. But real threats, the ones that get under your skin, they're quiet. Anonymous. Written in 12-point font and delivered while you're sipping coffee. Like that text. You think this is over? You humiliated her. You're gonna pay. I didn't respond. I didn't panic. I just took another sip, saved it, and sent it straight to Martin. 15 minutes later, I had a response. Martin, already drafted a restraining order template in case it escalates. Print out every message. We build a paper trail now. I stared at the screen and chuckled. The man planned legal battles like a war general. Cold. Clinical. Never outmaneuvered. Exactly what I needed. Ashley hadn't texted again since she picked up her things. I thought that might be the end of it. Maybe she'd retreat, regroup, lick her wounds somewhere deep in Chase's cologne-scented embrace. But that was before I stepped out of my office building later that day and found my car keyed from front to back. Not a random squiggle. Not a petty slash from someone with a grudge. No, this was deliberate. One word, carved with surgical precision across the driver's side. Liar. My hands clenched. Not in rage. In something colder. Something focused. I looked around the parking garage, no cameras. Of course. Just enough shadows for someone to work undisturbed. Still, I snapped photos, front and back, then called it in. Police showed up, did the routine dance. No suspects, no prints. Officer offered a half-hearted shrug. Probably some XXs are usually behind this sort of thing. Not an X, I said. Just a slow learner. That night, I reviewed the damage estimate for the car and forwarded it to Martin along with the photos. Then I poured a glass of scotch, opened my laptop, and created a spreadsheet titled Revenge Budget. Not because I planned to go rogue, but because every move from here on out would cost someone time, money, reputation, and I planned to track every cent of karmic debt coming due. Row 1. Body shop repairs, $2,300. Legal fees to date, $4,750. Mental clarity gained, priceless. A few days later, I met Kyle for drinks. He was the one who tipped me off at the start, my eyes and ears when I couldn't be everywhere at once. You doing okay? He asked, nursing a beer. You look like a man who just dug up a time capsule and didn't like what he found. I'm great, I said. Actually, I'm planning a little thank you gift for the happy couple. Kyle raised an eyebrow. Legal or psychological? Yes, I said, sipping my drink. He laughed. You always were dangerous when calm. On Friday, I made my next move. Sent a package via courier to Chase's office. Plain manila envelope. No return address. Inside, a neatly printed list of every date, time, and location he'd met Ashley in the past 3 months, along with copies of photos, screenshots, hotel bills. Oh, and a personal note. Just wanted to make sure you were keeping track of your own lies. I know I am. Because here's the thing. Guys like Chase, they always think they're in control until you remind them how much they've left exposed. An hour after the delivery was confirmed, I got a text from a new number. Chase, you're insane. Stay away from me. I replied. Me? Already did. Ashley's all yours now. You broke it. You bought it. Saturday morning, I took a drive. Not aimless. Intentional. To a little law firm in Midtown, where a friend of Martin's worked, divorce lawyer, sure, but also specialized in reputational defense. The kind of guy who knew how to keep things clean, or make a mess with a smile. I handed him a file with everything I had on Ashley. Everything extra. He skimmed through the pages with the same energy a surgeon gives to a fresh MRI. You sure you want to keep this all off the record? He asked. Not yet, I said, but I want every card ready in my hand. That night, just as I was about to head to bed, I got a second anonymous message. This one wasn't just a threat. It was a mistake. You think Chase won't retaliate? He's got friends. Real ones. You're gonna wish you kept quiet. What they didn't know, what people like Ashley and Chase never understand, is that warning a man like me doesn't shake me. It sharpens me. I sat down, drafted one final email for the night. Sent it to Martin, the reputational lawyer, and my security buddy from college who now worked for a private firm. Subject: Phase 2. Body: let's make it uncomfortable. Because pain? That's temporary. But consequences? Those are just beginning to sprout. There's a moment in every plan, right before it tips over the edge, where you stop and wonder, am I really doing this? And then you remember, yes, I am. Because someone has to hold the match while the house burns. The next morning, I got a call from Martin. She's panicking, he said, barely containing the smirk in his voice. Just got word from her new attorney. Yes, she has one now. Apparently, your little info packet to Chase caused a bit of a domestic situation. I sat back in my chair, coffee in hand. Trouble in paradise? You could say that. He's distancing himself. Big time. Apparently, Chase didn't like seeing proof of just how many hotel nights she had while he was at work. Seems your ex has a little honesty issue across the board. Oh, I said, mock surprise thick in my voice. You mean the guy who told me to leave quietly isn't into commitment issues? Martin laughed. Let's just say the honeymoon suites closed for renovations. By noon, the cracks were turning into craters. Ashley texted me. Ashley, whatever you're doing, stop. You're hurting people who don't deserve it. Oh, the Noble card. She wanted me to feel guilty. Cute. I didn't respond, but I did add her message to the file. Emotional manipulation always makes good evidence when painted in digital ink. Around 3 p.m., Kyle called. You're going to want to see this, he said, practically buzzing. He sent over a link to a local gossip blog. Not your usual go-to for courtroom drama, but they loved office affairs, and it turns out Chase wasn't just sleeping with Ashley. He was sleeping with someone above Ashley, too. Apparently, my packet of photos made the rounds after Chase's assistant accidentally left it on the wrong desk. Office grapevines are faster than the internet. His boss found out, and just like that, our smooth-talking alpha lost more than just Ashley's affection. Chase had been benched, reassigned, pending internal review. You could practically hear the titles sliding off his email signature. One fire lit another. Ashley had just torched her meal ticket, and from the sound of it, Chase wasn't interested in splitting the check anymore. That evening, I decided to take a walk. Needed air. Needed stillness. I walked past the old park where Ashley and I used to take Sunday coffee strolls, back when we still pretended we were good at marriage. The swings creaked in the breeze. A couple pushed a stroller along the path. For a second, I felt a strange ache, nostalgia, maybe. Then my phone buzzed. It was Noah. Not my son, Noah, the 12-year-old son of Mark, a man I'd met 2 months ago through a divorce support forum. We'd messaged a few times, shared some stories. His ex had cheated and walked out with another man, dragging a suitcase and her dignity in equal parts. But his son? His son had stayed, and Noah wanted to talk. Mr. Logan, he said. My dad said you're really smart. Like with computers and stuff. I know a thing or two, I said, chuckling. Why? There was a pause, then, can you help me get back at my mom? That caught me. Whoa, I said gently. Let's pump the brakes there. What happened? Noah sniffled. She lied. Said she didn't want me anymore. Said her new boyfriend doesn't like me. And she told my dad I wanted to stay with her, but I never said that. My heart twisted. Because betrayal by a partner is bad, but betrayal by a parent? That cuts bone. You don't need revenge, I told him. You need truth. You need to be safe. And you are. Your dad's making sure of that. He didn't respond right away. But eventually, he said, do you think it'll ever stop hurting? Yes, I said. Not all at once, but piece by piece. After the call, I sat in silence for a long time. Because here's the thing about revenge. It's a road paved in gasoline. And sometimes, you light it for yourself. But sometimes you're just standing near someone else's fire. That night, I pulled back. I paused the next phase of my plan. Not canceled, just shelved. Because if you lose your humanity chasing justice, you're not winning. You're just switching roles with the villain. The next morning, a delivery arrived at my doorstep. A cheap bouquet of gas station flowers. A note taped to the front. You made your point. Now leave us alone. No signature. I stared at the flowers, then dropped them in the trash. Because that was the final confirmation I needed. Ashley was losing. Not just in court. Not just in reputation. But in control. And when manipulators lose control, they start throwing things, words, accusations, sometimes even flowers. Anything to rattle the cage and make you flinch. I didn't flinch. I just smiled. Because it was time to finish what I started. 3 days after the flowers hit my trash can, I filed a formal complaint. Not against Ashley. She'd already dug her own pit. But against the mutual friends who'd played host to her games. Paul and Linda, the dinner double agents. Turns out, Paul worked in a semi-sensitive government contractor role. Not exactly a good look when one of your hobbies includes filming your friend's wife dry humping her ex in a nightclub and laughing like it's America's funniest home videos. I dropped a carefully compiled package at his supervisor's desk. Anonymous, of course. Nothing illegal, but unethical? Oh yes. HR catnip. By Friday, I heard through the grapevine Paul was on administrative leave pending review. Linda? She got hers too. One of her Instagram followers, bless them, leaked screenshots of her mocking my divorce online while claiming to be supporting both sides. People are braver behind filters, aren't they? Public sympathy flipped faster than a pancake in a firestorm. Suddenly, I was no longer the boring husband. I was the guy who stayed calm while the house burned down and smiled while stacking the insurance papers. Ashley's lawyer called Martin Monday morning. You could hear the desperation through the legalese. They wanted to revisit the terms. They wanted a more collaborative approach. They wanted mercy. Martin asked me what I wanted. Silence, I said, and closure. So that's what we gave them. We drew up the new terms with surgical care. No spousal support. She keeps her car. I keep the house. Any joint assets to be liquidated and split 70/30ths. My favor. NDA clause. No book deals. No podcasts. No viral My Truth TikToks. She signed. Martin said it was the cleanest settlement he'd seen in years. I told him that's because sometimes the best revenge is just peace. But just before the ink dried, I did one last thing. One final flourish. I wrote her a letter. Not angry. Not bitter. Just honest. Ashley, I hope one day you'll understand that what hurt wasn't that you left. It's that you lied every step while telling me we were building something real. But here's the truth. You didn't break me. You revealed me. You showed me where I was pouring love into a leaking vessel. So I've stopped. And I'm okay with that. Logan, I didn't mail it. I left it on the seat of her car the day she came to collect the last box. She didn't say a word. Just read it. Cried a little. Drove off. And that was the last time I ever saw her. You'd think that would be the end, right? Roll credits. Cue the bittersweet piano score. Fade to black. But life doesn't work like that. It's quieter. Slower. Healing doesn't come in applause. It comes in morning coffee you don't rush, laughter that doesn't feel forced, and new beginnings that don't carry old ghosts. I kept the car, had it repainted. I kept the house, gutted the bedroom, turned it into a reading room with dark wood and quiet light. I even started dating again, months later. Nothing dramatic. Just walks, talks, stories that didn't involve damage control. And when I passed that restaurant where she tried to bury me in shame, I smile. Because I know who I am now. Not a victim. Not a villain. Not even a hero. Just a man who stood still while the storm screamed and waited for it to choke on its own wind. And that, my friend, is how you burn a betrayal to the ground without ever striking a match in public. No fists. No foul words. Just facts, clarity, and a spine made of stone. Logan Banks walked through the fire and came out cooler than ever. And the only thing he left behind was a trail of silence, ashes, and just enough evidence to make sure they'd never forget who lit the fuse.